In the heart of a quiet valley, surrounded by hills that touch the clouds, lay a small village. The people there lived simple lives. They farmed the land, sold their crops in the weekly market, and shared their joys and sorrows around the warmth of small fires. Among them lived a boy named Aarav, who was only 16 but carried dreams as wide as the sky. While most children in the village were content with helping their parents in the fields or planning their futures as traders or carpenters, Aarav was different. He wanted to become a scientist, not just any scientist, but one who would create things that change lives, machines that could ease people's burdens, inventions that could light up dark homes, medicines that could save lives. But dreams that burn so brightly often face the cold winds of reality. Aarav's family was poor. His father Raghav worked as a farmer on a small patch of land. Year after year, the crops failed because of the unpredictable weather. His mother Meera worked in nearby houses to earn a little extra money. Most days, they had just enough to eat a simple meal of bread and lentils. Their home was a small mud house with a thatched roof, often leaking when it rained. Yet, inside this humble home, Aarav kept his greatest treasure, a small wooden box filled with old books and notebooks. At night, when darkness fell and the lamps went out, Aarav would not walk to the corner of the street where a broken lamppost still gave out a faint flicker of light. There, under the buzzing lamp, he studied, his thin frame bent over the pages, his fingers tracing lines of formulas and ideas he barely understood but was determined to master. The villagers would see him and laugh. "Look at this boy," they said. "He thinks he can become a great scientist. He doesn't even have a proper roof over his head." The words hurt, but Aarav never replied. Instead, he whispered to himself every night, someday, these same people will see what persistence can do." Life has a way of testing the strength of our dreams. For Aarav, the test came sooner than expected. In his final year of school, when his studies mattered the most, tragedy struck. His father fell seriously ill. The doctors in the nearby town said it would take months of medicine and treatment. The little money the family had saved was spent within weeks. Now, Aarav faced a choice: give up his studies to work and support the family, or somehow juggle with both. He chose both. By way, Aarav worked in the fields, plowing and carrying heavy sacks. In the evenings, he worked at the village market, loading and unloading carts of merchants. And late at night, with tired eyes and sore hands, he studied under the flickering lamppost. But even the strongest hearts can falter. One night, while struggling with a difficult math problem, exhaustion overwhelmed him. He slammed his notebook shut, tears streaming down his face. "Maybe they were right," he whispered. "Maybe boys like me are not meant to dream." The next morning, Aarav walked to the riverbank, hoping to find some peace. The sun was just rising, painting the sky with streaks of orange. The sound of flowing water soothed his restless heart. There, he noticed an old fisherman sitting on a rock, carefully repairing a torn fishing net. The man's hands were wrinkled, his black bent with age, but his eyes were calm. Curious, Aarav asked, "Why do you keep fixing this net? It looks too old and broken to be of any use." The fisherman looked up and smiled gently. "My boy," he said, "every time I repair this net, it becomes stronger. If I throw it away each time, it tears. I will never catch any fish. Success in life is the same. Life will tear you down again and again. If you stop repairing yourself, you will catch nothing. But if you keep fixing your heart and your hope, you will catch the biggest success one day." Those words struck Aarav deeply. He walked home with new determination burning inside him. From that day on, Aarav stopped complaining. Instead, he worked harder and smarter. He carried books with him to the market and studied. In between breaks, he solved math problems by writing equations in the sand. with a stick when he couldn't afford notebooks. He memorized lessons while carrying sacks of grain. Each failure became like a tear in the fisherman's net, something to repair, not to abandon. There were nights when hunger gnawed at his stomach and fatigue blurred his vision, but he held on to the fisherman's words. He whispered to himself, "I must repair my net, I must not give up." Months turned into years. Slowly, Aarav began to see the fruits of his persistence. He won a small scholarship for scoring high in the school tests. He earned the respect of his teachers, who offered him extra guidance. Even the villagers, who once mocked him, started to notice his dedication. But the road to success is never smooth. The biggest test came with his district board exams. Aarav had studied tirelessly, but just days before the exam, his father's condition worsened. Aarav had to rush between hospitals and home, his book tucked under his arm, even his waiting rooms. On the morning of this first exam, he almost didn't make it to the exam hall, but he arrived, tired, anxious yet determined. For hours, he poured his heart into the papers. He remembered the fisherman's word, "Repair the net, keep repairing." When the results were announced weeks later, Aarav's name shone at the very top of the list. He had not only passed but topped the district. That day, the same villagers who once mocked him gathered at his doorstep. They applauded him, some even with tears in their eyes. His father, though weak, smiled with pride. His mother's eyes overflowed with joy, not of survival but of triumph. Soon after, Aarav received a scholarship to a prestigious engineering college. Years passed. Aarav's persistence carried him from one success to another. He studied, worked, and eventually became a respected scientist. His inventions brought electricity to villages, clean water to towns, and hope to thousands of families. One day, a journalist asked him, "What is the secret of your success?" Aarav smiled and replied with the story of the fisherman. Life will always tear your net with fears, pain, and setbacks. But if you keep repairing it with patience, hard work, and courage, one day it will be strong enough to catch your biggest dream. The secret to success is not money, talent, or luck. It is persistence. It is a quiet strength to rise after every fall. It is the courage to repair your net, no matter how many times it breaks. Your dreams are possible, but the road will be full of challenges. Remember, every tear in your life is not at the end. It is only an opportunity to become stronger. When life tests you, don't give up. Repair your net. Keep going, because one day that net will catch your greatest desire, success.